Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. All praise be to Allah, the Lord of the heavens and the earth, and peace and blessings be upon our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. O Allah, grant us knowledge, wisdom and sincerity.
Amen.
O Allah, accept our supplications and grant us your blessings.
Ameen. Ameen.
Dear listeners, we salute you all with the salutation of the people of paradise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. From me, Hatim and AbdiSalam, and Dr. Wael Harassi. And today we have another interesting show. I think I lost touch as yesterday I wasn't here. So today I'm a bit rusty. Dr. Wael, how are you today?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
How's things?
Fine, thank you. Yesterday we really missed you. It was really a good session. We talked about Jannah and how to get focused on the goal. Before we start today's show, I would like to say something.
Yes, the floor is yours.
What shall I say? I'm not comfortable. When I say I'm fine, I say Alhamdulillah, but I'm really not. I woke up today, and the first news I've seen was the killing and the murder, cold-blooded murder of 4 little children playing at the beach, targeted by a Zionist missile. When they missed all the children, first child died, 3 of them were running, and the second missile hit and killed all 4 innocent children. This is state-sponsored violence and cold-blooded murder. Gaza has been under siege for years and people have been killed every single day. But this brutality and cold-blooded murder is of a different scale altogether. Yeah? And I would like to protest to that. I would like to protest to that, not only to that, to the killing. I would like to protest for the silence in the Muslim community, for the silence amongst Muslims, leaders and followers, every single Muslim. And my protest, and as an act of solidarity with my brothers and sisters, is
Go ahead, Dr. Wael.
I'm not going to do the show today.
Okay, Dr. Wael.
I have 4 children. And of course, the parents of those children took them to the beach to be away from the shelling and bombing. But they were targeted. These children were targeted. I imagined myself sitting in that beach, and those 4 kids are my children. How would I feel? The only way of support that we show is by donations. Yeah? And we can't replace children by donations. All good, let's donate. But what will our money do to the parents of those children? Absolutely nothing. I do not represent the opinion of anyone. I represent my own opinion, and I would like to take a message across. And this is my very humble way of saying that I'm with you, Gaza. And today I need to leave, and I apologize for both of you, but today I need to stay silent the way our leaders have stayed silent, and see what will silence do. So the mic is all yours, Hatim and Brother Muhammad Farooq. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sophia will take a short break.
How do you raise a child with good self-esteem? I mean, I think my daughter has pretty good self-esteem, but you know, one of the fascinating things about being a parent is that there's nature and nurture. and I don't know what's the percentages, but she's come into the world with certain crosses to bear, so to speak, emotionally, that are hers, no matter what I do. For instance, early on she displayed this, she could be embarrassed easy. And I remember the first time I saw it, she was like 1 or something, and I could tell she was really embarrassed. And I was like, how does she even understand that? How could she know what embarrassment is? Like, what does she have that? So it clued me into the fact that there's stuff she's got to deal with that's going to be on her own. That said, love and encouragement and positive energy and reflecting back and looking her in the eye. I think not talking down, not baby talking. I never did it. And not overcompensating, but being complimentary and supportive of things she does, and taking the time to really look and nurturing it and telling her and sometimes being effusive, but clearly effusive about something, how great you did a great job, you really worked hard, and I can tell, and it's really amazing. I mean, she wrote something the other night that I was blown away by, and I was truly blown away, and so I just let her know it. I let her have it, so I think she has a pretty good sense of self-esteem, but she also has her issues, and she's going to battle them, and she's got to work them out on her own, and hopefully she'll come to me, and I'll be able to provide some insight.
The Modern Family.
Dear listeners, welcome back. This is Hatim AbdiSalam, and with me in the studio is our honorable guest, Engineer Muhammad Farooq, who is an engineer in telecom, IT and media. He has a media background and keeps a close eye on the industry trends. It's very difficult for me to continue the show like this with what as Dr. Wael has said a few minutes ago. It's a huge burden on all of us, and we share the mutual responsibility towards what has happened. I don't know, but inshallah we'll try our level best to pray to them that Allah Almighty Allah should have His mercy on the souls, and to punish those who are responsible for this. So we'll continue with today's show. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. How about you, Hatim?
Fine, thank you.
Like you mentioned, the feeling is mutual, and we happen to be entering the last 10 days of Ramadan, in which there is the one hidden surprise by the God Almighty, the Power Night.
Yes.
And I would just like to remind all the listeners not to give up, and make as many supplications as they can for themselves, for their family members, for their friends, for their neighborhood, for their local places of worship. And I request them to make supplications that God Almighty and oppression, no matter upon whom they might be, people of any faith, any background, and may God bring to justice the oppressors and the terrorists of these hideous acts.
Inshallah. Now, Brother Muhammad, today's topic is about technology and kids, or tech kids, and this is really a wide subject, and we'll try our level best to get the most important points in today's talk, and cover the aspects that would really be beneficial for parents. To start off, Brother Muhammad, how can we describe what they call the real world versus the digital world?
Okay. Well, first of all, we need to understand that there is technology all around us, starting from wristwatches all the way up to satellites up in the sky. Everything is technology driven nowadays, and a lot of us have started to lose touch with the real world as both of them merge. For the sake of this program, we'll keep our discussion of technology related to gadgets, because our children have access to most of these devices, and as they grow up, they're exposed to other forms of technologies. And when we talk about devices, they have morphed into a new shape and form. It used to be clunky big gadgets with a lot of buttons on them, very unattractive, like, just in one color generally. Now they've become huge screens, the buttons have disappeared, and instead of punching in buttons, we are swiping and sliding all over the screen.
Yeah.
So the main interface has become the screen, and I generally joke with my friends. I tell them window is something that we growing up used to look out through, and our kids growing up are something that they look at.
Yes.
And Apple is something that we used to, sink our teeth into and eat. And our kids, they swipe their fingers on them and they talk to them, thanks to the people who use Siri.
Those were the good old days.
Good old days, exactly. Yeah. So we're at quite a revolutionary point in time. As the discussion progresses, hopefully we'll be able to discuss more and shed lights on different aspects.
Okay. Now, so what happens to the tech kids? What do we mean by tech kids? Why did we choose this term, actually?
All right. What we'll do is we'll look a little bit at the background.
Okay.
You see, a lot of us deep down inside don't want our kids to spend too much time with the screens. Let's put it this way. However, there are times when we have to give them a screen to stop them from crying or throwing a tantrum, especially when we're in a public area.
Yeah.
Still, in the back of our mind, we worry about their eyesight. We worry about what's impact this is going to have on their brains. And this is something that is a deep concern in most of us. And think about it. When we were growing up, our parents had similar concerns. However, they were lucky there was only one screen at the time, called the television,
which is at home.
Exactly, the one-eyed babysitter, you know. And now we are facing a whole plethora of screens, starting from smartphones up to laptops, tablets, iPads, and so on and so forth. So our challenges are greater than our parents' challenges. And the other thing is, we had the opportunity of understanding the real world and then evolutionizing towards the digital world.
Yeah.
And later on it turned into a revolution. However, we need to understand these kids are opening eyes in a very, very digital world. Their surroundings, their learnings, their five senses are exposed to a complete different landscape compared to ours. So this is the first thing we need to keep in mind, that when we approach this issue, I would not call it a problem, we need to have this understanding and empathy for our children. The other thing is, you must have noticed that a lot of the preschoolers, they don't even know how to tie their shoelaces. However, they are very tech savvy. It's as if they learned this thing by breathing. I see my little 2-year-old playing with the iPad, and it amazes me. However, when you try to take it away from her, it's not a pretty sight, but you get the idea.
Talking about the way children, especially infants, they deal with the technology. There was a research done on infants from the age of 8 months to 16 months, and they were given newspapers in front of them, and they automatically, the first thing that they did is they with their finger they tried swiping the newspaper. Amazing. Thinking that it is an iPad or something. Amazing,
exactly.
So the next generation, it's a whole new level.
Exactly. And the other thing is the generation gap in this arena is very pronounced. Like, for example, digital divide is either you have access to the internet or not. However, here the field is a level field. So they have access to the same things, for example, you and I have. So that makes things very more interesting and alarming. Like, I'll give you an example. For the first time in history, our children have the capacity to know same as us, and in some cases more than us. This has never happened in history before. Of course, we have to exclude the experience as the wisdom. There is no shortcut for that. Yeah. However, in terms of raw knowledge, or if you want to just call it unprocessed information, they have access to whatever we have. And this brings us to the two very important points for our listeners out there, parents especially. There are two things which are frightening us inside. some of us have realized what it is. Some of us are still confused, and we're trying to find what it is. First of all, it's the ultimate feeling of losing power. Okay? This haunts us. We can stop their television, but it's very difficult to stop their devices. And we'll get to it in a minute. No need to stop the devices, because we can't.
You remind me of an occasion that happened. We were in a group gathering, and they said, so that we can make this gathering a fruitful gathering, we'll open the floor for debate. And we asked them, what topic do you want to talk about? And they said, kids and technology. And then we asked them about mobile phones. We said we'll narrow down the discussion to mobile phones.
Right.
And then we asked them, the parents, should we give mobile phones to our children, or shouldn't we give them the mobile phones? And the majority, almost 80%, said we shouldn't give them. And the ones that we have at home, we should put passwords and things like that. So my debate was, if you buy a new phone today, you don't know how to operate that phone, you ask your child to do the settings for you.
Right.
And to create the password for you and do everything for you and do the downloads and applications. So how do you expect that you will be able to deprive that child from accessing that mobile phone?
Exactly.
Even if you have the password. And this is really amazing. My phone has a pattern password. And I went to my brother's house, and my nephew told me that, can I use your phone? And I said, no, you can't use my phone. He said, okay, I'll find out my own way. And he took it, and he was able to unlock it.
Wow.
And I asked him, how did you do that? He said, very easy. I could see the fingerprints on the screen.
Exactly.
And I said, subhanallah, this is amazing.
That's one way of digital forensic.
And Sophia is giving us a thumb up, saying that it's happening to her as well.
Exactly.
So the parents, their argument, they said, no, we'll deprive them from mobile phones. We will not allow them to have technology. But I said, you cannot deprive them. You cannot not allow them.
Yeah,
because they overcome you.
You see, we are here to debunk this myth.
Yeah.
The second thing is, I always argue, don't make technical devices the forbidden fruit.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't forbid them. Regulate them, and we'll get to it, inshallah, in the later half of the program. The first thing is that we feel is the ultimate feeling of losing power, like I said, and second thing is it's the ultimate feeling of being replaced by screens at times. You see, we started getting addicted to screens. And when our kids started to do the same thing, that bothered us.
Yeah.
Right?
Although we are doing the same thing.
Exactly. So we feel like, oh, my kids are not spending enough time with me, or if I call them, they don't answer back. Yeah. Well, guess who started it?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are the two things deep inside most of us. And the backlash, like you explained, is, okay, stop all devices. You can't. It will not work. For that, you'll have to stop your own all devices. Now tell me, are you willing to do that or not?
No, I don't think so. I just don't know how our generation was addicted to the screen. The pictures were black and white, and most of the time you had 1 or 2 channels maximum, and you had to go on top of the roof to adjust the antenna to get a clear picture. But it was still, our eyes were stuck on the I think the amusement of something like the TV.
You see, Hatim, a couple of real points that come to mind. First of all, it was the only entertainment available.
Yeah.
Okay. Second, you had to adjust your time. It wasn't any place, anytime, anywhere, on-demand entertainment. Second, it still kept the family together somewhat. One screen is still better than 4 or 5 screens. You know, you see people sitting in a room, even family members, and everybody's glued to their screen. So that's killing the interaction side of the house.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want to, debate which is the lesser of the all evil, I would still say it's television, because you can exercise more control on it, and it still brings the family closer together.
Yeah. It's very important that what you said, that all the family members will be sitting together.
Right.
And also their focus and direction will be the same direction. And they will be watching the same For example, you can't watch more than one channel.
Exactly.
With the TVs that we have, you can't watch more than one channel.
See, Hatim, that just brought something else to my mind. I had the opportunity of attending a wonderful talk, and it was a PhD expert who had come from UK, and he explained and he proved how microwave destroyed the family system in the West. It was shocking with the research that they have done and they have proven.
Tell us more about that, Muhammad. What do you mean by that?
What he said was that Sunday meal used to be the biggest thing of the week. The whole family getting together, sitting, eating, interacting, talking to each other, asking each other what's going on.
Yeah.
And the advent of microwave made it possible for any place, anytime food.
Yes.
So mom cooks something in the morning, she sticks it in the refrigerator, and then everybody eats at their own leisure. So that slowly curtailed the huge family system down towards the nucleus family system.
Amazing.
So and you know, they had stats and things like that to prove that.
And this is exactly what is happening with the
mobile phone.
With the mobile phones.
Yeah.
With the mobile phones.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Muhammad, how our kids are weird? Do you think they're weird in any way?
Okay. Well, the best thing in this is we'll look at a little bit of research. Granted, research statistics are not always perfect. However, they give us a flavor of what's going on in the market or in our real lives. As an example, the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Canadian Society of Pediatrics state that infants aged 0 to 2 years should not have any exposure to technology. 3 to 5 years should be restricted to 1 hour per day, and 6 to 18 years should be restricted to 2 hours per day. However, the reality is that studies have found, as an example, average American between the age of 8 and 18 spends more than 7 hours a day looking at a screen of some kind. And sadly, this rate is growing.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, okay, one might say, okay, he's getting good entertainment, he's getting edutainment, he's getting information, he's up to date with current events and what have you. However, studies show the more hours teenagers spend using a computer or watching TV, the weaker their emotional bonds with their parents become. Now, this is really sad. And the proof of that is that they can make cyber friends halfway across the globe. However, if you put them in a real life scenario and tell them, go talk to your neighbor, or, you know, who's your neighbor, most chances are they're very shy. And instead of face-to-face interactions, they prefer like SMS or even messengers.
So they lack social skills.
Yeah, self-confidence, and, you know, I mean, in other ways, if you can call it, they're emotionally damaged in some shape and form.
But Muhammad, in their perspective, the children's perspective, they feel that this is sufficient for them to survive. They don't need human interaction.
Well,
they can do it through the digital world.
I hear you. Like I said, they've opened their eyes in this world, and this is where the parents come into the picture, but in the right way, not taking their devices away from them, but not to ban the devices, but to regulate them, and we'll get towards ways how this can be done productively. As an example, there's another stat, again very alarming. Children born today will have spent a full year glued to screens by the time they reach the age of 7. This is shocking. We were never exposed to such an environment. And the downside is that study proves that too much screen time also interferes with sleep. Okay. And heavy screen time is connected to obesity. And that's why you would see that first time in history we have a plight of young kids who are really overweight. And this problem is not contained in a particular geographic area, or it's not related to a culture. This is related to the universal technological culture. The other thing is it's difficult for them to pay attention. Okay? And they have an inability to make real world friends, like we discussed. And the other thing is number of them have dull imaginations. They have low academic performance and increased aggression thanks to some of the video games which in the opinion of a lot of experts, they just promote mindless violence.
But would you agree, Muhammad, that maybe the older generation, you had mothers at home with their children, but now with both parents working full time, then the only solution for the children is to be in front of the TV or with the nanny. But we're talking about 8 to 9 hours a day. If the children are not in school, then they're in front of the TV.
Exactly.
We don't have a particular program for our children, what they should do.
I
for
agree
example,
with you.
since they get up in the morning until the time we come back from work.
Yeah, we'll get towards that. I've talked about some of the alternatives that we need to do, because each time 50% of the issue is identifying a problem. Still the other 50% is proposing solutions to it. So I do agree with you, since we're going through summer and a lot of kids are hanging around at homes, we guys are at work, so they need company. And it used to be one-eyed babysitter, the television. Now we've got lots of one-eyed babysitters. And the television was less harmful because internet is mostly unregulated, mostly,
yes,
for the better part. So I do agree with you. There should be summer camps, real nice ones, as an alternative for different age groups.
Yeah.
So where we can provide them healthy entertainment and also help them groom and develop their skills, because kids are amazing. They have so much talent. They have so much power to absorb and process information. However, we need to take a leading role in how we help them regulate and channel this energy.
Yes.
The other thing, sticking to the same study, is they get easily distracted with short attention spans. They want instant gratification. Now, this is very dangerous. There's a lot of studies have been done on that. And a lot of this is to be blamed on social media. And we are criminals of the same thing. Something happens, instantly we send a tweet or we post something on Facebook without even thinking. So this instant gratification is something which is quite harmful for the children as well.
As you mentioned the social network, today actually I was watching a video on YouTube, and this is an experiment that they did. They in one of the cities in Europe, they made a very nice tent, okay, and they told the audience, people from the street, they picked randomly people from the street, and they told them that this is a TV program about a psychic.
Yeah.
And they sat in front of the psychic, and he told them very personal information about themselves. And they were really amazed. How did this psychic know about our personal information? And at the end of each session, they showed them the computer screens of their Facebook page, their Twitter, and other things that could capture each and every personal item of their life. And it was very easy to get it.
Exactly. See, this is the problem, that our children don't understand the value of privacy.
But do we understand the value of privacy?
We're losing it.
We
did. Once upon a time we did. And now we're like, no, get on the bandwagon. What the heck? Everybody else is doing it, so why I should not?
Yeah.
But this is very dangerous, really. It can be used against us in more than one way.
Okay.
And sadly, I don't see parents teaching their children how to use social media responsibly and in a conservative way. And at the same time, I don't see our schools teaching the children anything along the same lines. So it's a totally unregulated field, and I'm afraid we'll see the results once the kids are grown up, and then it'll be very difficult to reason with them. I was watching a very short video by one of the scholar, and he specifically referred to, for example, Facebook. And then he gave the example of Yusuf alayhi salam. You know where I'm getting with this thing.
Yeah.
So he was saying that, look, you might be having a wonderful evening, but is it necessary to tweet what you're eating? Is it necessary to take a picture of in which restaurant you are? Is it necessary to post this to all your friends? And, because at the end of the day, we're all humans. Maybe our friend hasn't eaten in 3 days. So how would he feel? Is it really necessary to share every single aspect of your life with the whole world?
And to start off, who's interested to know
Exactly.
what have you eaten, where have
Exactly.
you been? Yeah?
I mean, we've reached a point where we're getting emails now that, okay, we're about to get into the last 10 days of Ramadan, and the night of power, which is the single most important night of the year, is going to be there somewhere in odd nights. And the scholars are writing, for the love of God, please don't tweet and Facebook about how great it is and what you're doing and all that. Please, please, please unplug. So this is where we reached. I mean, starting from the imams or the leaders in the masjids, they used to say, okay, straighten your rows before praying. Then they say, okay, straighten your rows and turn off your mobiles.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you can see how dominant
it's changing
technology
even the
exactly.
Parts of the religion.
Exactly. It's impacting every single part of our life, to the point where scholars have to include technology in almost everything. I was listening to somebody, and he said, since the lines are diminishing between the real world and the virtual world, we're getting complicated questions related to faith, where, as an example, somebody in New York says, okay, I'm watching live Taraweeh from Haram, from Mecca. Why cannot I join in, even if I'm standing even though I'm in New York? Why cannot I join there?
Yeah.
Right? So there are amazing and at times scary dimensions of technology. Sadly, I don't see many leaders in their domains addressing these issues, particularly when it comes to children.
Would like to remind our listeners that they can always call us on 24602058, 24602058. Please do call us and share your thoughts about today's topic. Our guest today is Engineer Muhammad Farooq. He is in the IT and telecom business and media as well. So please take the advantage of Muhammad and ask him all sorts of questions. Before we go for a break, Muhammad, there is the other team that would not agree with you, and they would say that technology is really essential and important for our children. Okay, I think we have a call. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah, brother Hatim. Assalamu alaikum. Kif al-hal?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
How are you, Sheikh?
Fine, thank you.
Sheikh Muhammad.
Alhamdulillah, we're all fine. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Who is this?
Yeah, this is Musallam Al-Khaifi.
Oh, Sheikh Musallam, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. Yes, Sheikh.
I'm just listening to the very interesting topic. And I couldn't even go out of my car, although I'm in the parking already.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
So it's really very nice subject. And I think all of us are suffering from the same thing. In fact, for us who have kids and cousins, the soon one cousin buys an iPad or iPod, then the whole family needs the same. And it's very difficult to convince them otherwise.
Yes.
So it's really been a really issue. One thing that I wanted to comment is that I think also one of our lifestyles here in Oman is pushing us into buying those things for the kids.
Yes.
The reason is that there's no other alternative. Previously I remember here in Seed, we had this, for instance, a water sport garden where you can send the kids to have some fun. We had some amusements that you can send them. But now look how many amusement, how many water parks do we have in Oman, how many things, how many areas we can send the kids to really enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Electronics. Yeah. So we really end up for the parents to keep the kids quiet. Sometimes it's easier for them just to throw them with the iPad or iPhone and let them, stay away from them. And then they can do their thing. So it's really, this is one part of things. I think here in Oman, really the people concerned need to really start finding areas where our kids can enjoy, naturally outside these electronic things. Yeah?
Yes, very valid point.
Yeah.
Salam.
Although, also, in the other way, and I don't want to be completely negative, because the electronics also brought us the electronic Quran, they brought us the reading, Hifz Quran through these tools, hadith. You get brought all these hadith books in one program, and they can search in each hadith and you can know whether this hadith is true or not from all the books known until now. So it's really, there is as they say, it's a blade of, double cutting or whatever you call it.
Double-edged sword.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree with what you're saying, Brother Musallam. The Would you like to add something else, or would you like us to?
No, I think these are the main 2 points which I wanted to share.
Wonderful.
One is that we need alternatives in the country
for
the kids. You know, like clubs, like amusements, water parks, and these, to keep them busy outside this electronic world.
Right.
And secondly is that I think, as you said correctly, that we need to regulate it, not to because there are good things into the electronics.
Right, exactly. Brother Musallam, this is wonderful. You basically did the second half of the program for me. I was going to have an extensive list of alternatives. Inshallah, we'll get into it after the break. I do agree with you. These devices are a double-edged sword. You see, everything has khair in it and shar in it. Depends on how you use it. In terms of the gadgets and why we are pushed or forced into this, it's a separate long topic. It has to do a lot with consumer behavior and how corporates push this agenda to have what we call profit before people. Before, if you remember, things were bought for their life value. You bought a car and you ran it and you used it, and it gave you a good 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and something broke down, you just fixed it and you loved it, you were attached to it. Nowadays, we are bombarded with advertisement all around us, and it's cool to have the latest device, even if you're using 5% of the features. It's the aesthetic value. It's not the life value. So you're forced into, for example, a device 1 and then device 2, and you haven't even gotten comfortable, and then device 3 is upon you, and so on and so forth. So there is a different agenda and motive behind it. And just like how we need to use the devices, we need to teach our kids also that it's okay to have, for example, a mobile which is, 2 generations back, as long as it's working fine. Yes, there is a lot of peer pressure, and this is driven by, obviously, by the profits that suit certain entities. So I hope this answers your question. In terms of the alternatives, I do know of one huge project which is in the pipeline, very near to Muscat. That's all I can say, which is pretty much what you have mentioned, and actually above and beyond what you have mentioned. I do agree with you. We do need to have healthy alternatives for the children in real world, not necessarily in digital world. I do agree with you. There's a lot of good in technology, especially when you use it for memorizing Quran and understanding Hadith and things of that nature. There's some very nice sites. Hopefully we'll share with our viewers down the line. However, we need to minimize the screen time and maximize the productivity for our children and even for ourselves. Because young children, and going back to toddlers and all that, this affects their eyesight, and this affects a lot of parts of their psychology. Okay, so it's above and beyond just the physical damage. Okay, well, my kid got glasses, so what? It's not that. It's more than that. It has the potential of damaging their personality permanently, if I'm allowed to say that. So while one part is actually how to handle the devices or the technology part in terms of the aesthetic value versus the life value, the other part is how much screen time they should have. And screen time means when they are glued to a screen and they are not getting any real life, real time exercise. Okay, so we will address this inshallah after the break.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Brother Musallam, for your call, and we really appreciate these types of comments and suggestions and addition to our program. And inshallah, we'll address the other points that you raised, inshallah, after the break.
The Modern Family.
The way you teach your children conflict resolution is actually quite simple. You don't teach them conflict resolution when they're in the middle of a conflict. That's when everybody's emotions are running high and they flip their lid. They literally flip their lid. That's when they can't think. That's why we have that expression. So that's not the time to teach them conflict resolution. We teach them conflict resolution as if it's a game or a fun activity at a time where the kids are actually either getting along or everything is just copacetic. You say to the children, we're going to learn a new game. It's called the peace chairs. And you sit each of the kids in chairs. And they should be cozy and comfortable. You tell the children, let's pretend that you're fighting. Let's pretend that you're fighting over, there's one Yu-Gi-Oh card and you're fighting over it. How do you think we can work this out? And so through practice, you help them work it out. You narrate what one kid feels, you narrate what the other kid feels, and then you throw out, wow, we have 2 children and only 1 card. What are we going to do? And then, because it's a game and kids want to win, they try to figure out the most creative solutions. And one of the things they could say is, let's take turns, or I can have it first, or you can have it first, or something even more creative like, let's play store, and you'll be the salesman, and I'll be the customer, and I'll buy the Yu-Gi-Oh card. This is the way you teach conflict resolution. And then when it happens in real life that they are fighting, you can say, peace, cheers, guys. And they know that there's going to be a smart mom or dad there narrating what the kids are going through, that everybody's needs are important, and it's going to be settled in a fair way.
The Modern Family.
Dear listeners, welcome back to The Modern Family. With me here is Engineer Muhammad Farooq, a specialist in telecom, IT and media. Welcome back, Muhammad.
Thank you, my dear.
Brother Musallam has pointed out to a very important point here in regards to this topic. I just wanted to add a few things to what he has said, especially when he said that lifestyle is pushing us into technology, there is no alternative. What I've noticed is that normally any community, when they are minority, then they seek alternatives.
Right.
For example, Muhammad, here, the Indian community and the Pakistani community and other minority communities in Oman, they have very wide range of activities. They do them themselves. But if you are in the comfort zone and you expect everything to be done by the government or the institution, then you will wait very long. So what I suggest is that we should go and seek out the alternatives for our children. I've seen a very good idea, someone in Barka, I think, who turned his farm into a zoo, something like that.
Yes.
And he charges minimum like 500 beza.
It's very minimal.
Yeah, and that's one of a creative idea, and it's a personal initiative that someone goes and feels that, okay, something has to be done, and they do the initiative, and then they get the blessings from everybody, and people enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a very popular spot. You see it's growing. They've got more animals now. They've expanded, and there's a huge number of people that show up over there. And there are, look, you see, Oman has been blessed with a very diversified geographic setup. You've got the wadis, you've got the mountains, you've got the seashore. There is huge, like, camping opportunities, fishing.
There's lots of things that you can do.
Exactly. So we just need to remind each other. I know brother was right. There should be more alternatives. However, I agree with you. We need to create alternatives as well instead of waiting.
And I think the community is capable.
Right.
If they get together and discuss about these things and even raise funds to establish these types of institutions, I think they will be able to manage this.
Well, I would like to float a suggestion to whoever is listening out there. Since we've got a number of farmhouses near Muscat's vicinity, and a lot of people utilize them, even though at times it's a bit challenging to find. I would like to throw a challenge. Why doesn't someone create an amazing place with kids in mind, like a camp, in a farm location, where healthy entertainment can be provided, not just for the children but for the parents as well. So the listeners out there, challenges out there, I'm sure.
And the farms are there, and there are a lot of people who own the farms that these farms, maybe most of the time they're sitting idle. Nothing has been done on them. So I think people need to be proactive. Investors need to invest in this field to create healthy entertainment for our children.
I agree with you. You see, these things should not be the luxury. This should be the normal practice. I've seen in certain countries, for example, Malaysia comes to mind. There is just abundance of health clubs and swimming pools. It's almost in every apartment complex, so to speak. So we should not have to seek out that things that, oh my God, summer is here, where do I take my kid for swimming? It should be in my backyard. So I agree with you. Somebody needs to start this healthy culture. I do see in Oman, people are very active, and I take children are healthy because I see them play soccer. at almost any place they find, or they'll create their own place if it's not available.
Yeah.
So these initiatives need to be groomed on a higher level. And you see, when you provide alternatives to the children in real world as opposed to digital world, by default their health will improve.
Yes.
And we'll talk about it a little bit down the line, inshallah.
Okay, the other thing that Brother Musallam has pointed out is that technology is a two-edged sword.
Right.
And he talked about the benefits of the technology in seeking knowledge. But the thing is that most of us use the technology in the opposite direction. We don't seek these benefits that can be done from the technology. So if I shoot out a question and I ask how many of us on our iPads we have all the books of Hadith, all the translations of the Quran, and the useful programs that can help you to seek knowledge.
Right.
Very few people have them on their iPads. But if you ask how many people have video games, how many people have useless applications on their tablets.
Well,
so you'll find a pretty high number.
Yeah, I would say peer pressure has a lot to do with it. I see this in my kids daily. Second thing, even if you go back to our television days and, for example, our VHS days,
yeah.
Again, how many people actually had scholarly stuff or Islamic related videos that they were watching regularly? Seriously.
Very minimal.
So it's always a few good men and women selected for this job.
Yeah.
However, for people who, and I often hear this, and sadly from Muslim youth, I'm getting bored, I have nothing to do. So I refer them all to Surah Al-Asr. That's the essence of our existence and a summary of the whole Quran, for that matter.
Yes.
How can you say that I have so much time on my hands that is breaking my fingers? Trust me, we don't have enough time.
There's plenty to be done.
Exactly. So that's what I said. We need to channel their energies, guide them, and most important, make dua for them. Nobody would be bored again.
The other thing that Brother Musallam has pointed out is the peer pressure between cousins and relatives and the community as a whole. And I think it's very important for a parent to set the rules at home and make your child understand that you live on set of rules,
right,
and that we should not imitate everything that the other family does.
Exactly.
And what we do these things for a reason. And try avoiding just giving them the commands and forbidding them from things without explaining to them the reason behind it.
Exactly. You have to be friends with them, and just like a good salesperson, you have to sell an idea.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be there on their head 24/7. So you need to show them the benefit. Especially if we talk about mobile devices. Do you really have to change your mobile every 6 months or 1 month in some cases? Really? What's the benefit you're getting?
A few minutes back you were talking about the applications and the updated versions of the phone, and you said most of the time we don't use the application.
Right.
And this is very, very much true, because most of the people, they have functions on their phones that
they don't even know.
They don't even know.
And they don't even need. See,
know.
This brings us back to the basic formula of want versus need. Do you want it or do you need it? This is the definition we need to clarify in the minds of our kids and put them on a specific budget. Let's say, for example, every week I'll give you so many reals as your pocket money.
Yes.
Let them decide. Do they really want the phone so bad that they'll starve themselves and go and get it? The other thing is you encourage them to give charity also.
Yeah.
You encourage them to spend time with people who are less fortunate than them. Because you see, what I've seen is, even in our families and friends, we recite these wonderful ayats and ahadiths to our kids.
Yeah.
We fail to show them the practical side.
Islam becomes a theory.
Yeah. So unless you take them as an example to an orphanage or to a hospital, and you let them see people who are less in them than health,
yeah,
inshallah, when they come home, they will value their health. They will value their eyesight. Okay. They will value exercise. Okay. So we need to show them. Like you said, it needs to be more than theory.
Okay, we'd like to remind our listeners of our numbers. They can call us on 24602058, 24602058. Today's topic is about tech kids, and our guest is Muhammad Farooq. Now, Muhammad, What about the opposite camp? We started talking about the opposite camp and then we stopped.
Well, we got this wonderful call from Brother Musallam, and it added good value to the show. I thank him for his feedback and taking the time and interest to actually participate in our program. You see, it's kind of strange. Sometimes we can't predict things. As an example, when iPad came out in 2010, consumer and technology experts anticipated the craze would be from teenagers and adults. But the surprising thing was the early adoption of technology was by children and toddlers. Okay, so there are still some people in the opposite camp who say that playing video games is associated with creativity, okay, fast decision making, generating stories for little toddlers, addressing activity, for example, as in digital finger painting or things of that nature.
Muhammad will continue with your point after taking this call. Assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you, brother?
I'm fine. Assalamu alaikum.
Who is this?
How are you, bro?
Brother, turn down the volume of your radio, please.
How are you, bro?
Okay, we lost the call. Okay. Yes, Brother Muhammad.
Okay. The next point is, the people, they say that kids who are interacting with the screens, they get better much faster, they make few mistakes and learn faster. Again, depends on, I wasn't able to find any research to back this up. So maybe a lot of it is just perception or observation, so to speak.
I think, Muhammad, nowadays people are getting confused because there are a lot of research out there. Some research say that technology is good for your children, and some research say no, technology is not good for your children. So people are in the crossroads.
Okay.
And they're very confused. They don't know whether they should obtain technology for their children or whether they should deprive their children from technology. It's just too much confusion.
Right. I hear you.
Today, schools are changing into technological schools, using means of technology. And when they go to the workplace, also they need to be very good at technological tools.
Okay.
So if you deprive them from the technology, then you wouldn't be doing them good.
Yeah.
And if you provide them with the technology, excessive technology, and then they might hurt their eyesight, and they might lose focus, they might be antisocial or something like that. We have the call again. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
How are you, brother?
Fine, alhamdulillah. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Yes, I'm calling in regards to the program I'm listening to right now. It's a great show, actually.
Thank you.
And I would like it if I could speak to the host as well.
Yeah, go ahead. He's listening to you.
Put a few points across, actually.
Okay.
Okay. So, my name is Muhammad Misbah, and I've been listening to this program for a few minutes now.
Okay.
And it seems to be very interesting, and a lot of good points are being put across, especially for young minds around. Hope they are listening. And
I hope so.
What we can also do is, a lot of points have been covered, mashallah, by our brother Muhammad Farooq. And also a suggestion, can we come up with interactive games in which we actually imbibe skills into our youngsters or increase their knowledge in any way? You have so many games around these days, so many applications for your mobiles. How about having a game that increases your Islamic knowledge for little kids starting from their young age and, take it forward from there? I don't have many ideas as of now in my mind, but...
So you're talking about games that will increase your Islamic knowledge?
Islamic knowledge as well as your social skills, I would say. See, action games these days have to do a lot with shooting the other opponent and this and that. And somewhere I believe, in my opinion, it's kind of, it makes them more violent sometimes. Maybe. I don't know if the study proves this or not. But I would say that, something that makes you go ahead and spread peace around, or, you get extra points and extra credit out of doing some good charity to someone, and have a good life around, a simulation for a good life.
And that's what we need today, is to spread peace. That's the whole objective of our life on this earth, is to spread peace.
Yes, and coexistence in between people of any faith as such. Humanity, people have to show their human side and come out in what is wrong, stand up for what is wrong and stand for what is right. right? Anyways, I mean, I don't think I have any points to put across. But
Thank you very much, brother. We appreciate your call, and please keep on calling us.
Inshallah, I will.
Shukran, brother. Before I turn the mic to you, Muhammad, to address his points, I just wanted to say one thing, is that out there are a lot of good people, okay, good citizens, good believers, but I think we haven't been doing our homework. We left the field to the other camp to do everything for us. So what they produced the things that will not help us to achieve peace, that will not help us to coexist with others, they will not teach us the morals and so on. So I think starting off by ourselves, we need to start to get into these fields, to produce, to invent, to create these type of programs for our children. If we don't start working, then